Are you someone who wants to become a product manager, but you don't have the background? You're doing your undergrad in mechanical or civil or industrial or electronics. And to add to that, you also don't have any relevant work experience. You might not even have any work experience. And you're hoping to come to United States to do your master's, and hopefully you will break into product management industry. How do you break into it? What is the roadmap, and how do you even build your profile so that you can get job interview calls, so that you can crack those interview calls? Well, I've got good news for you. Today's guest, Nishit, he comes from mechanical engineering background, and now he's a product manager for Lenovo, which is mind blowing. This video is going to cover step-by-step strategy on things he did to build his profile for product management, and his job search strategy, how he got interview calls, and how he broke into the product management industry. I hope you find this valuable, and if you do, please let me know in the comment section. And now I'll let you enjoy the video. Thank you, Nishit, for doing this. Really means a lot to me. So excited to share like everything we're gonna talk about in this journey, and also there's like something special about Duke people. There's like I've interviewed so many Duke University students, but before we get into any further, let's do like a quick intro. Where are you from? What do you do? And fun stuff about you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, first of all, Yudi, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share my strategies and everything that I did with the people over here. So, thank you so much for that. Starting with the introduction, my name is Nishit Patel, and I'm doing the Masters of Engineering Management at Duke University, and I'm based in Durham, North Carolina. And currently, I'm interning as a product management intern with Lenovo. And a fun thing about me, to be honest, there are a lot of fun things about me, not just one. So it's difficult to remember what is one thing that is fun about me. I think if you get to know me, you'll realize there are a lot of fun things about me.
Nice. I love it. I love it. I like that hook that people, if people want to know more about you, they can like find out more about you by
Absolutely.
connecting with you.
Yes, that's correct.
Um, Also, you mentioned that you are working for Lenovo. Do you
That's
get
correct.
free laptops?
Uh, we do not get free laptops. It's the laptop that is the ThinkPad laptop that is given to us by the company, and we do have to return it,
Return it.
unfortunately. But the thing is, we do get like if you are a friend of mine, and if I want to gift you a laptop, you can definitely avail a 20% discount through employee
All
discount
right.
that I can provide
Employee
you. So that
discount.
is a
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, that is one thing
Nice.
that I can.
Let's start with like Duke University. I think that's
Yeah.
something so unique. I feel. When did you come to Duke University? Like, when did you start your program?
So I started in the fall of 2022. So everything was backtracked from one thing that I wanted to be in product.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll get back to my Duke question, but before that,
Yeah,
let's just give some context for me
sure.
as well and for audience as well. What was your bachelor's in?
My bachelor's was in mechanical engineering.
Oh, that's awesome. This now makes it even more interesting because
Interesting. Does.
there are people who are from mechanical, civil engineering and all this who wants
Hmm.
to get into tech or especially product program project management role. And then you
Absolutely.
said you did have like a full-time product role, and how long did you stay in that company before you came to
Uh,
United States?
right. So in that company, I was there for around 7 to 8 months. I was working as a full-time
Okay.
product management over there.
So
Then
so it's not like you have like 5 years of experience or 2 years of experience, not even a complete 1 year of experience. So I would say like you're pretty much fresher, but you do understand the concepts of product, and you knew that your vision was very clear that you wanted to get into product. Before we move on to the next exciting part of the video, I just want to quickly mention about my newsletter community. We have more than 8,000 people who is receiving weekly free newsletter, where we combine all the information which you're watching in this video into text format, which is easily digestible. It's a free, no cost to you. Also, we send out resources like product management guide, data analyst guide, job openings, and other resources which we have going on. So if you're interested in receiving such informative newsletter straight to your inbox, consider subscribing. You can simply go to udj.com/newsletter, or you can even go to the link in the description and it'll take you to the same page. And now I'll let you enjoy the next part of the video. Now let's talk about Duke. Why is it that every Duke University student I've talked to, and whoever wants to get into product, has an internship, even though it's like people are laying off, their tech market is so low? Like, it's very surprising to me. There is something special about Duke University. I'm also not, this is not sponsored by Duke, by the
yeah,
way.
I understand. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that is actually true. A lot of people over here do have good offers over here at Duke. I think
Mm,
one reason is because people over here are very proactive. Like when I came over here, I could see people over here. I was shocked because I was never that proactive, but I was always trying to learn from them and try to be more productive every single day. But
mm,
as the people, there's lots to learn from everybody over here. And but one thing that is there that I've had a discussion with people from different universities as well, and the timeline that they follow and the timeline that we at Duke follow, there's a difference over here. So I've seen people
mm,
starting the job application process since July, since
mm.
before even coming over here. That was quite shocking for me because I started way back in October, and that is also like very early from some students from other university. So I would say just the environment, the timeline, and the people being so proactive over here, like kind of that
And when you say
spreads.
proactive, what do you really mean? Like, what are they proactive in?
Right. So they just able to think for a longer period of time from today. They are able to think 3 months forward, 4 months forward, what they want to do, and they kind of backtrack all the steps that are required, and they start actively working towards those steps. So
Mm,
that is something I consider as being very proactive. Like you are planned, you know what you're doing, and you're moving ahead with
right.
pace.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So this is something like I did when I did my meetup. I prepared this timeline because I feel this is what you're talking about when you say proactive, right? So
that's correct.
a lot of people land here in for fall 2023. This is when
That's
you
correct.
landed as around
Yep,
August,
I did.
like
Yep.
late July.
Hmm.
And here's what a lot of people miss out on, which
That's
is
correct.
they don't know that all the hirings for summer internship, which is right here, like 1 year
Hmm.
later, happens in September to November timeframe.
Correct.
And they land, they're not prepared. And this is what I think you mean by like not being proactive.
That's correct.
Then most students, when winter break happens, is when they start to realize that, oh shoot, like I missed out on all the opportunities. And then they start to do hiring, like they start to prepare for from January to April, and that is when like they have missed out on the big companies. And now there's like mid-sized companies, startup companies, they're trying to target over here.
Right.
Is that like accurate, would you say? Is that fair?
It's somewhat accurate, I would say. Definitely, like people who are very proactive, who came here prepared, like with a resume ready, right? Everything is
Hmm.
set in that, and they just started applying without, trying to
Yeah.
perfect the resume. A lot of people come here, you just make the resume perfect again and again and again. And but what is the thing, during that time, very few people are applying in the first place. So even you do not have a very good resume, the chances of you getting selected are more. So that it is true, but the thing is, the number of hires that happens are even less during that time, right?
Right.
So I would say, I think 10% or less than 10% of people get hired during that time frame, that you told,
Mm.
big companies. But it's not true. Like from January as well, there are big companies that opened up. Like there were
Mm.
really good companies that opened up from January as well. So it's not. It also happens, that during the initial time when some people got hired, and then they revoke, they do not take the offer and they cancel the offer.
Mm.
These positions open again in the month of
Right.
Jan.
Yeah.
So it's not always
And
true, but it is
it's
good to be
also
productive.
like this. I mean, obviously we are in this weird tech market where 2022 obviously faced the most recession, layoffs. So that's why like this timeline might not align with your timeline when you came. And that's
Right.
why like people when you came, they probably weren't hiring in September to November. But then as the year went on, they are like, all right, we have some money, let's budget for the interns. And but like this is what, from as a hiring manager, I've seen like this is a typical timeline. And a lot of people are like Duke people especially prepare for this September November timeline. But anyway, that was a segue. Let's talk about your roles. So did you apply for any other roles, or did you just apply for product manager roles?
So the thing is, before I came here, of course, I started talking with a lot of seniors over here, and
Mm.
most of them they told me that if you're only focusing on product, that is not a good strategy.
Mm.
It is a risky game. But then I met this one senior who just told me that it's an idealistic world. If you want to be someone, you can be that. You just have to put in the
Mm.
amount of work that it takes to be there. So then I did not entirely believe in both of these things that were said to me. So what I did was that I thought I would apply to 85% of companies that I apply to would be product, but
Mm.
there'll also be a 15% mark where I would just focus on other roles. That is this project management, program management, product marketing, strategy, only marketing. All these roles I started giving them like a 15% time in my schedule. So I apply to both all the roles, but majorly, of course, product.
Right. Okay. So you obviously knew what you wanted to apply. What was your first step in terms of like your job search strategy, because there's like two main pillars.
Right.
One is like building the profile and like applying, and then second is once you start getting, then it's cracking. So like the first part of the strategy, what did you do?
I'll be very honest. So the strategy and everything that I realized down the line when I was actually putting in
Mm,
a lot of action, but
mm,
while starting out, I did not know anything. So when I was here in the month of August, people had already started applying. So even you get that rush as well. That you need to apply as well. Just, let's get started. But the thing is, you do not know how to apply in the first place.
right.
So all the
Mm,
actions that you're taking are actually not in the right direction. So
mm,
it doesn't matter if you're working for 7 hours, 10 hours, but it's not giving you the results that actually. So you to know how exactly to apply something, I thought it was more important. So I started investing a lot of time in that. So what I used to do whenever someone used to get a good offer, right, I used to just call them. I just said, because it's Duke University, yeah, you can just call and talk to anybody over here. So I just used to call them and I used to understand their strategy of applying for jobs. So like
mm,
that, I had to talk with multiple people with multiple offer. I got to know a different perspective from all of them, and I
mm.
condensed a lot of things and I created my own rule set of rules that I want to follow, and that is what I followed over time to get
Nice.
what I wanted.
Okay.
So that is how I went about it.
Uh, all right. So the first I mean, the one of the mistakes you mentioned
Yeah.
is that because everyone was applying, the
Right.
FOMO kicked in, and you
Yeah.
also started applying, but you didn't
Right.
really know how to apply.
That's correct.
So,
Yeah.
so then you took a step back. It's like, all right, I'm wasting my 7 hours of applying. I need to
Absolutely.
really understand how to apply.
That's correct.
So the step you took is you reached out to seniors, you reached out to alumni, and all of them, and then you condensed it and you
Not the
built.
alumni and the seniors, but the people who already got internships, like in this
Oh,
cohort
in your
itself.
batch.
Yeah, in my cohort. Yeah, I
Oh
reached out
wow.
to them,
Okay.
like, what's your
Okay.
strategy to get into this job? So I
Mm.
realized that proactiveness was one thing that was very important. All of these people were very proactive. And I used
Alright.
to think, oh my God, you already done that. Oh, that's done as well. I used to be shocked
Mm.
to listen to that.
Okay,
So
so first one is FOMO applying. Second one
yeah,
is you were not proactive and you
if
realized
I was
that I
not.
needed to be proactive. Before we get to the strategy, was there
Yeah.
any other mistakes you can think of?
Starting late is also one of the mistake. I think I started in
Mm.
October. Like that is not too late, but given the time that we are in these
Mm.
days, I think
Mm.
it is a little bit late. So given
Right.
the time, it's a difficult time right now. So let's just be a little bit. Let's just put in more work than you would usually do, like
Yeah,
when the other students are.
ideally, when you have gotten the admit till the time you've coming here, or
Right.
like you've gotten the visa until the time you come here, that would be prime time to like prepare for your resume and things like
That's
that,
correct. That's
which
correct.
keeps you. But anyway, three big mistakes which you mentioned. One is FOMO applying. Second one is not being proactive, and third
Yes.
one is the timeline. Like you didn't really know the timeline and you
No, no, no.
started late.
Late,
So
yeah. Yeah. So from January itself, I started applying in a right direction, in the correct direction. But till then, I was just confused. I was just shooting in the dark.
mm. Before January, how many companies did you apply? How many interviews did you get? And after January, what changed?
Yes. So before getting my first offer, it was around 15th of November when I got my first offer. And before that, I applied to around 80 companies before
Mm,
getting the first company. And after January, I made sure that, I'd apply to at least 10 openings per day. And I'd continue doing that until like May, I think,
mm. Okay.
starting of the May month.
And then did you see, so out of before January,
Hmm.
about 80 companies you applied,
Right. Right.
you got one interview call or did you get multiple interview calls?
I just got two interview calls.
Okay.
So one I converted, and the second, when I replied to them, they did not. I got ghosted, so I did not
Okay.
hear back from them.
Right.
So
Okay. And then obviously so there must be some reason you didn't wanted to go with that company, so that's why you
right,
didn't choose, and you chose Lenovo. We'll talk
that's
about
correct.
that as well.
Absolutely.
But then after January, how many calls did you start getting?
So after January, I think it's a good time as well. Like you apply, you do get a lot of calls during that time. So in total, I think I might have received calls like around 15 to 17 calls.
Mm,
But
that's a
it is
lot.
a
Okay.
mixture of all the product as well as the
Program
15% of
project.
thing that I was,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a mixture of all of things. But yeah, around around that ballpark of that number. And good companies, I would say around 5 to 8 good companies did reach out.
I just, again, I know you mentioned that people generally just get after January. It might be true for Duke people, or it might be something you've done in your profile or application, and it's not true for a lot of people, because a lot of people still reach out to me. I get DMs almost every single day that they're just not getting interview calls. They're just getting ghosted. They reply, they get rejection every single day.
Mhm.
So I don't, I want to set the right expectation for the people who are watching, that don't assume that after January you'll just magically start getting. You have to apply the right strategy, and
Yes.
we'll just get into it. So let's
Also, one
initiate,
more
like,
thing, Yudi,
yeah.
just one more thing. Like, even after doing everything you can in the
Mm,
right manner, there's still a possibility that you do not land the internship, and that is
right.
something that is we have to accept that fact. So I was always okay with that fact. I did not have an expectation that I'm going home with one internship. It's fine.
Mm,
I mean, if I'm just doing the right thing over over a long period of time, and that might result into something that is something that I might like. So that is something that
right.
I had in mind.
Yes,
So yeah,
yes. So perfect, awesome. Let's talk about the secret strategy,
absolutely.
because you combined so many people's strategy into
Yeah,
your
yeah,
own strategy. So
that's
let's
correct.
let's start. Where did you start then?
Absolutely. So I think talking about this internship search, I could think of four things that we can do. The number
Mm,
one would be creating a rock star resume, right? That's one
nice.
number one thing. Number two would be like you need to know how to apply in the right manner so that you cover all the openings that come up. Like you do not miss
Mm,
out on any openings. If
mm,
you want to be lucky, you make sure that you are putting yourself in a position to be lucky, right? That
okay,
you're
right.
completing
Yeah.
all the openings that come out. You just try your luck over there, but
Yeah.
make sure you apply to all the companies. Number
Right.
third would be, once you get the interview call, like, they
Mm,
give out an interview call to a lot of people, and during that step also they just, they just ghost a few people, right?
yes.
So that is also one
Yes.
thing. We need to make sure that that is also a stepping stone for us. We need to make sure that how do we tackle that step as well.
That's
And
interesting.
finally, yeah,
Okay.
and finally is the interview, right? The preparation, and you
The
meet
cracking the
the yeah,
interview.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
These are the four
Right.
things.
Okay. One other thing I think you probably will cover, and I
Yeah,
think it's along the lines of Rockstar resume plus LinkedIn profile, because I'm
right.
assuming you made changes to your LinkedIn profile as well.
Yeah, that's correct. I did.
All right. Cool. Let's get into it. Let's start with the
Absolutely.
resume.
Resume for sure. So for resume, I think the number one step that we can do is, we can just go to a lot of job descriptions. We can go to a 10 to 15 job descriptions of the companies that we like or we want to be a part. That is subjective, right? Different for different people. If you want to be in edtech, you'll see 10 companies of edtech. Or if you want to be a generalist, you can just see companies from all the any industry, and you can just form like 10 to 15 job descriptions, just gather them. You copy all the important points in those, like what is
Can
it
we
they're looking
show
for.
that? Can we show that?
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
So as you can see, I just copied all the job descriptions in one document, and from there I just sorted it. I got to know that meetings and details and action items is one thing, and a lot of points come under that subheading. Then I
Okay.
got to know that in timelines there are a lot of points that talk about the timeline. There are a lot of points that talk about
Mm,
coordinate with engineers and stakeholders. There are a lot of
mm,
points that talk about visuals, creating visuals. Then so basically I'm just sorting these points that I get in the job description into some similar things, right?
yeah.
Then I get to know that okay, there are a lot of points under this heading. So one point from this should go, or maybe two,
Mm.
right? So
And let me just
yeah, yeah,
clarify for people to understand. So you went through several job description,
that's
probably
correct.
your dream job description, or like
That's
dream
correct.
companies, or the companies you want to target,
Yes.
and then you took the job description, copy pasted
Yes.
it, then you
Right.
sorted them into
Sorted it.
different
That's correct.
groups. Right. All
Yes,
right.
that's
This
correct.
is meetings and action items. This is timelines. This is
Right.
so and
Right.
stakeholder management, communication management, so and
And
so, risk identify. Like, yeah.
yep,
And
yep,
then
everything.
you created this document. Can
That's
we
correct.
show, like, real quick, some examples? So, like, how did you look up the job descriptions and what did you do?
For sure. Okay. So for that, I'll just open the LinkedIn. So as you can see, I've put product management intern over here and United States over here,
Hmm.
and the filter is of first 24 hours. So I'll just look around and I'll just find that if there's a company of my interest.
All right. So for people who are watching, this is role agnostic, because the time we are filming is obviously it's post internship time. So we might not see the openings, but you can apply the same technique for whatever role you are looking for. So right now we are looking at product marketing role, or product marketing intern role. So, all right, you found this. What do you do next?
So let's say this is the opening of our liking, right?
Yeah.
Then we'll just come here. You get to know that these are the points that they are looking for, right?
Hmm.
This requirements is something that is your background, like what uh, some hard skills and soft skills is something. But usually these are things that are checked in the interview that you give. The stories that you tell, right? And
Hmm.
the eligibility that you have. Do you have a master's or a bachelor's degree? But requirements and responsibilities is something. This is something that you're looking for in your resume.
Hmm.
So you just pick all these things, you just paste it somewhere, right?
Hmm.
And then you kind of group it the way I
Okay.
did over here.
Right. So you would keep doing this for 10, 15, 20 roles and then
Yeah, 10 is
right.
enough, like 10, 15 max. 10
Right.
is also quite good enough.
Okay.
So yeah, you can do that.
Cool.
And I used to think about my experiences, where anything that I've done in my experience that matches something out of these points,
Hmm.
and then I would just highlight them, and
Hmm.
then I would create the points around them as a bullet point in my resume under
Hmm.
the experience.
Okay. Can we see that?
This is the program management resume. I did not put in a lot of work, but if it were a product one, I would have been able to show a lot of points over there.
Okay, got it. I get the gist that you obviously took the responsibilities and then try to figure out how it fits to your resume, and then you started listing it down.
Right.
So what? So I know you. I remember you saying that you only have 8 months of experience. So how did you like write your resume? I guess maybe we can walk through your resume, whether it is product manager or program manager, one of them.
So yeah, as you can see over here, in this what I did was that I just wrote down the top 5 or 6 things that I was proud of what I did in my duration of being a product manager with that company, and
Hmm.
then I tried to look at all these points that and try to find a unison between them. And I not just coming out and saying that you improved acquisition, but by looking at those points, I got to know that your user acquisition is improved to do a certain thing. So I would
Hmm.
try to put that as well to make sense out of what I have done and what is it that they are expecting.
Hmm.
So that
Hmm.
is something that I
So
used.
more like a quantified points, like it's more like right, like it's like okay, I did this, which improved this, so that the impact was this.
Right. So there are actually a lot of things that went inside this. So that yeah, for the company of as you told you the product management thing that I worked in India. So I just listed the 5 to 6 things. Then I just got to know these are the achievement that I made. Then I go to the sorting, the sorting that I did, and then I try to find as much closeness as I can, and I create a point, right? But the analytic, the as you told, the analytics is something that I use another website for that. So there's
Hmm.
this website by Career Launchpad in that I found a link. I just went through their blog and I just got to know that how each point is formed. You know,
Hmm.
so that is also something that I've written in a document. Whatever I'm saying, I think I've just written down in a document, and I'll share that document with you that you can link to this video so people can follow what I'm saying as well. So the link is also in that document as well.
Yeah.
So
So this is
yeah, this one,
right. Okay. So you looked at this and then impact
yeah,
what? Okay, that's
right.
cool.
I got to know how a point is written because by doing a lot of things, I was still not getting callbacks. So I thought it could be something with the points that I have. Let's just
Hmm.
create a lot of impact in the points that we have.
Yeah, I like it. This is typically student writes this, that, which tells what they did, but in this one, high impact driven, which quantifies the impact of what they did. So it's not what you did, but also like what impact you created from what
And,
you did. So,
and also, you have to write it in the front. And a lot
mm,
of other things that are written at the bottom as well. Not just writing the impact in the point, but where exactly to place it in the point.
oh,
That
this
is
is
also
such a
important.
great resource. Yeah, this is awesome.
Yep. So I
Cool.
just use this one. You don't have to invest in any services that they provide. This is just the blog that I refer to for just changing the points that I was
Mm.
writing in my resume.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Cool. So you the first step is resume, building your rock star resume
Resume.
and the steps you mentioned it. So after resume, what changes did you make?
So once this resume is created, I have the draft, right? And there's one more thing I would have to add that a lot of people have a resume in the A4 size,
Mm,
but over here we use US letter size. So
Hmm.
it's good to have a US letter size. But again, like I know a lot of people who have gotten good jobs with the A4 size resume as well. But I also know that some HRs telling that, we like to see a US letter size resume. So I would also prefer that if they like it, then why not keep it a US letter size resume? So that
Hmm.
is something that we can focus on. So once your draft is ready, now what you have to do now, again, if you want to know how to create the draft in the first place, just take a resume from your senior and start editing on that. Senior
Yeah.
that you believe in and getting a lot of calls, just take their resume and start editing on that. One thing, once the editing is ready, you just put it into an ATS software.
Hmm.
Now this is at Duke University, we have this Kinsia. That is something that is provided by Duke University. I just asked my seniors, what would be a good Kinsia score for my resume, and they just said that 250 to 270 is a decent score. Do not try to optimize it beyond 300, and do not do that. So that is what I did. I just optimized it to 255 or 260 in that range, and I just ready with my resume. Now I think it's a ATS proof resume. Just make
Hmm.
sure that you do not have any red flags in your ATS software, because red
Hmm.
flags means at least one ATS will kick your resume out without even bringing it into its system, right?
Hmm.
So just make sure that whatever ATS you have, just do not have any red flag into that. Because if the company that is hiring is using Kinsia, let's say if I get a red flag in Kinsia and the company is also using Kinsia as a ATS, then of course I'm gonna get kicked out of that company's pool.
Yeah.
So let's just make
Yeah,
sure that I have
and
zero red
real
flags.
quick for people who don't know what ATS is, it's application tracking system, and what happens is a lot of these companies have application tracking system, and I as a hiring manager know this because I know the behind the scene. I'll tell recruiter, here are the key, like here are the things I want, and then recruiters will in the application tracking system will say don't even like send an automated reject email if it doesn't match this many percentage of the job position. So that's why you need to make sure that it is ATS friendly, which means it will pass ATS and it will at least come to the recruiter's hand. Is that fair to say?
That's correct. Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah,
So
so
after this thing, there's one more thing that you can even look for all the
mm,
keywords, right? You can just look for what the keywords for product management intern resume that employees are looking for,
mm,
and what are the keywords that they list. So what they're
mm,
looking for and what they list, there's also a difference in that.
yeah,
So you can just take all those things and you can just try to put in as much as you can. Not like,
right,
and be
yeah,
genuine about it. If you are not able to find certain point, it's okay to not add it, because if you get asked in the interview and do not
yeah,
have something to tell about that, then that is something that is a not a good thing. So
yes,
be genuine
yes.
about it.
100%. Right. Okay, cool. So now let's talk about application. Like that's
Yeah,
probably going to be your next step.
that's correct.
Once
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have your resume and now you start applying. And there's a
that's correct.
technique which you mentioned that
Right.
there's a way to apply for it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's look at that.
For sure, we can do that. So, as I mentioned, initially as well, that you need to make sure that you cover all the openings of the role you are interested in. So, I used to have three tabs open. So, one would be the LinkedIn one would be the Glassdoor, and one would be the Indeed one. So, I used to apply on all these three platforms to make sure that I do not miss on any openings.
Mm,
So, what I would do on LinkedIn is that, I would just type the role that I'm interested in, the United States, of course, and I would just make past 24 hours for LinkedIn. This is the filter that I would use, and I would just start finding the relevant openings over here. Then you can go to Glassdoor. I use a 3 days filter, like I'll just filter it for last 3 days. This is the same, this remains the same, the product management done in United States, and last 3 days I'll put over here, and I'll just start filling all the things that pop up, because Glassdoor is a very hard search. LinkedIn is not a very hard search. You can make it hard search by putting all the things over here, like the binary things and everything, but it's not required over here. This is a very hard search. If you write product management intern, usually that is what comes up. So I used to do it for 3 days, and I should start applying for everything. Then I used to come to Indeed, and of course over here I used to write product management intern United States, and again over here also I used to do a last 3 days, because again it's a hard search. So, and some of the openings might be something that I might have already applied before, so I would ignore them. But something new, if I find, I'll just start applying to those openings. So
mm,
by covering all these three platforms, I have to make sure that I'm not missing out on any of the openings that come out.
okay.
So this is how I used to apply. Now, again,
Mm,
there's one more thing to this,
mm,
like how I used to apply. Like, how do you know that which companies you should not apply, right?
Hmm.
So you should always apply to companies that mention, it's for grads, it's for MBA, or if there's nothing mentioned, even undergrads, if the company is good, you can apply, it's fine. Sometimes they do take the grad students as well. But if they mention that, we this is only for rising juniors, or maybe sophomores, or maybe, and there's also one thing that, they just write that we are not sponsoring for F1 students, or there's no H1B, so you can stay away from these companies, you can just discard them. But yeah, this is also, you need to filter what companies to apply to, because if you start not look at the description, if you start applying to all the companies, but some of the companies are, you're not eligible to apply, then that makes no point. So you need to also
Hmm.
have that filter. Just quickly go through the description and just find these things, the grad, MBA, or maybe not sponsoring. Just look at these things and decide.
Right. And did you get, because you were using three different platforms, did you get
Right.
interview calls from all three platforms, or was one of them was much better than the other two?
I think I did not track that. I'll be honest, I did not track
Okay.
which platform did I got that from, because I was applying a lot of companies. But I think I think this is the right way to do it, because you're covering all the openings that
Mm,
come out.
okay.
And the one thing that you can do is, you get to know about the opening. You can just go to their own website and then apply from there as well. Like, not
Mm,
coming from a certain link, but directly going to the website and applying. But that is
mm.
something that I used to do initially, but then, I used to do 10 per day. That becomes little difficult for you, so you just start
Right.
doing what is in front of you.
Yeah. How much time do you used to spend? Like, did you say 10 per day? So how much time were you spending every day?
I think around 2 to 3 hours per day was something
Okay.
that I used to do it late night, like after everything that I've done in the college. I used to do it late night and then sleep after applying to a lot of. But that is also something that I realize is not a good strategy, because most of the openings used to be in the morning. So,
Mm.
applying
Oh,
early
nice.
is also a very important thing. Like, if you are able to apply the first person over there, that benefits you.
All right. So you build your rockstar resume. You started applying. Obviously, because of that,
Yeah,
you started getting calls. I do
facts.
want to
Yep,
ask you one more question,
yep,
because there's two ways to get interview calls. One is through online application, which is
right,
sounds like you did that a lot,
right.
and then other way is to get referrals through seniors or alumni. Did you went through that route at all, or did you just focus on online application?
The thing is, I talked to a lot of people who were actively asking for a lot of referrals,
Hmm.
and then I used to ask them whether you're getting a callbacks from the companies that you're getting referrals from, and most of
Hmm.
them were like, no, we are not getting callbacks from, especially the company that we are asking referral from. It is not making a lot of difference, is what I realized. So rather than focusing a lot of energy into, like asking for referrals and making sure that give you referral, I just started focusing more on being the first one to apply, like as soon as possible, and just apply to all the openings that open up. These were the two metrics that I was optimizing for, like being ASAP, like apply as soon as possible, and just make sure that you're applying to all the openings. I would give these two things more importance than going after and looking for referrals.
I think it depends. If the person who's referring you is a really good
Mhm.
friends with hiring manager,
Yeah.
then there's a different story. Like for example, let's say we are going to hire a product manager in my company, right? So,
Mhm.
or product management intern, and if I am the hiring manager, if one of my coworker comes and tells me I have a referral, here's my friend, and I highly recommend you for our intern position, I'm definitely going to look at that before even HR tells me anything else, because I trust my coworker and I will take the word. Obviously, so it depends on the influence that person has over a hiring manager.
Makes sense.
And also, if you reach out to hiring manager directly, and if they are the one who's actually talking to you, then you have a much higher conversion than applying online. So there's definitely ways to get referrals, but it's just reaching the right people, not necessarily like if you are a software developer and trying to give me a referral for a product manager and you've never worked with that manager at all, it's not really going to do much favor to me. So that's
Right.
like what I would say in terms of referrals.
Mhm.
Cool. So we are at a point where you have a rockstar resume, all the position, you've covered everything, you've started
Right.
applying, and
Mhm.
you're starting to get call back.
Right.
What is the next step to actually start
Absolutely.
cracking and getting those offers?
Absolutely. Before that, there's just one or two points that I missed, and I wanted to cover that. So, like, see, assume that you do not have a university, you do not have a good company as well, but you can always leverage on this third point, that is a relevant experience, right? So what you can do is, if you come here, right, you cannot work for the first 6 months, right? Legally you cannot work, but you can always work as a, as an unpaid intern in some company. You just reach out to people and just tell them that, I'm interested in position, I want some projects, I want to work with you, and I'll do it unpaid because it's helping my profile, and that way you can just get that on your profile before you start
Mm.
applying. So that is
Mhm.
something that you can do.
Do you have like an example we can share? Like, what did you say to recruiters?
Just used to be very enthusiastic. I used to be grateful that I heard back, and I used to
Yeah,
make sure that I choose the very first slot available. And if I'm not genuinely available during that slot, I would just try to pick the first day and
yeah,
any slot in that day. So
nice.
that is what I would like to do.
Okay, cool. So you obviously got the interview call, and then what? Like, what's the next step?
Right. So once that is done, at the time, you go to. So how do you prepare? Like before you go into the call, like how do you prepare? So
Mm.
see, there are two ways to prepare. One is the general way to prepare. Like for example, I tell you product management intern. What is the role? So generally, you start preparing. Like you just go on. And second is the company specific preparation.
So obviously, from the roles responsibilities, you will know hard skills, soft skills. Hard
Yes,
skills are like understanding the tools, Miro, data analytics, and doing reporting and like all of that. Soft skills is
that's correct.
communication skills, time management, prioritization, etc. Right?
Writing skills, like writing
Writing.
and anything, like it could be
Yeah.
for product specific. There are different kind of soft skills. The product for the hard skills are different. So, but
Right.
what that job description mentioned, you just have to form a list over there, and
Mm.
then you pull in the keywords into your own story that you
Mm.
have.
Let's talk about stories as well a little bit.
Yes,
So for people who
yes, for
don't know
sure.
why are we talking about stories?
That's correct.
And so for people, especially for project program product managers and business analysts as well, or any tech management role, actually, you will be heavily focused on story based interview, behavior based interview, which is like, tell me a situation where you had a conflict with your coworker. How did you deal with it? Tell me a situation where you failed a project. How would you deal? Tell me a situation where you had to escalate something to a manager. How did you
How do you
escalate?
do that? That's
Right.
correct.
So these are where you can't just say like, I don't know. Like, you will have, at that point in time, if you're making a story in your head, you already failed the interview
That's
because
correct.
you didn't have the story ready. So
That's
that's
correct.
why you have to have stories ready where you can plug in that, all right, when they ask me for a conflict, I'm going to say this, which is going to cover these two soft skills in the story. Am I tracking what
That's
you're
correct.
saying?
No,
Yeah.
that's definitely correct. And Yudi, that is different for different roles as well.
Yeah.
For product, there would be certain lists that you need to have these stories ready. But if you're applying for, let's say, project, there'll be certain different set of stories that you should be. So again, that comes to the general preparation that we talked about. That
Yeah.
even before the company preparation starts. So
Yeah.
that's why. So, but one thing for internship is what I've realized, that tell me about yourself is the most important story.
Give me an example of tell me about yourself. If left like an HR asked you, like, what would you say in general?
So starting with, I'll just say that I when I was an undergrad, I took mechanical engineering in my undergrad, but I got to know that it is something I'm putting a lot of effort, but I'm not able to get the results that I'm looking for. Like I'm
Mm,
putting a lot of efforts, but the output is it's not matching the amount of efforts. Like I'm just not able to understand the concepts, and I'm just not able to apply the learnings into the real life. That's when
mm,
I realized I don't think this is something that I should pursue further, right? So then what I did was I just started reaching out to a lot of people that I looked up to, right,
mm,
through cold emails, and some of them did reply, and they told me that they gave me wisdom that you do not have to stick to your undergrad for the rest of your life, because there's a common notion in India that this is something, if you are done your bachelor's and your master's is a natural extension to that, but that was something that I got to know that it's not true. So
mm,
they told me that I need to start exploring a lot of career options and figure out what is something that you really love doing, something that is creating value as well to other people. So you
mm,
you love doing, you putting out everything, and you're creating value for other people, and you're also getting paid as a result of doing
mm,
that. So you need to
mm,
find that balance over there. So that's what I started doing. I worked as a graphic designer, I worked as a web developer, I also had my own startup. And in my own startup, actually, there was this vice president at Morgan Stanley whom I was working with, and I was I was almost working for around 6 months with him. I was
mm,
collaborating on a startup idea that I had, and by working with him, he was the one who, of course, he told me a lot of things. He mentored me as well. But after some time, it clicked to him as well that, Nishit, what you are doing is actually called product management. At that time, I was not even aware of what product management was. I just had an admit with NYU as a Masters of Mechanical Engineering student. I just taken it as a backup. But and he told me, I just told him that, I was not able to figure out what I need to do, and I'm just going for the masters because I tried exploring but did not work out. I'm just
Mm.
going for the masters. And he told me, no, it's not. You should not go for that. You should rather think, whatever something that you like doing, eventually the money will come. So you should rethink about your masters. So that's why I started the NYU for a few time, but then I dropped out of that and I started uh, focusing more on the product management, started to learn more about it, started to find a full-time job in it. I got a job and I worked as a product manager. And while working, I remember that I did not feel like it is work. I just used to love going to office every day. And then I would just, after talking about this, I would just tell them my plans for next 5 years and next 10 years, where I would try to show them ambition. So it's the love for the
Mm.
product management. It's how it happened to me and not something
Mm.
that and then what is my plans ahead. So this is something I
Mm.
draft an entire
Nice.
story
Yeah.
around that.
Yeah, it shows true genuineness and it shows the authenticity. And obviously now, because of all of that you said, I was like, I'm curious about this part. Like, so 100% agree. Like the first question they asked you will be always about that, and the way you answer will drive your entire rest of the interview. So
That's correct.
that's awesome. So you nail down your, tell me about yourself, you nail down hard skills, soft skills, you nail down your stories, and then you figure out which hard skills you will relate to what answers and what stories, and then you'll say them.
So about the soft skills and the hard skills, I would try to put in experience as well. As I told you, I worked as a developer. I worked as a in a startup as
Mm.
well. I'll try to
Mm.
put some soft skills over there, where I had to manage a lot of people and I had to make sure, you just try to put in all the soft skills over there, which is of course true. That is something that you might have done.
All right. Anything else before we move on to like the next step, which is the hiring manager and the other rounds?
Right. So at the end, they do ask you that, any questions you have for us, then of course you should have some questions ready. And at the end, there's also one personal but professional question that I used to ask the people who used to interview me is that, I just used to go through their LinkedIn profile. I also used to find some career shifts, right? And I used to just ask them, what made you think that from year to year? So that is something that is a personal touch, but being in professional, you do not go cross the line, but you're still trying to get a little bit personal with them so that they remember you. So you just
Mm.
try to understand why they made a certain shift, which you are of course curious about. You do not like come up with something. You just look at their profile, and if you're genuinely curious about something, that's when you form a question around that. So that is something that
Mm.
they remember you through that as well.
Thank you note is your opportunity to remind them who you are again, because they are probably talking to like 15, 20, 30, 40 other people.
Right.
So this and you will be surprised, only 25% of the candidates will do that. So if you do it, and if there are 10 people they're interviewing, you're in top 2 already.
Makes
So
sense.
always send thank you notes. It will remind them who you are. If you forgot something to mention, you can always remember, you can remind them again. The personal touch, the story you said, like you can always reinforce those story that, it was great, I was like grateful to share my story with you and share my ambitions with you. I'm looking forward to talking to the next step. Again, it's just a minor touches, which is like a nudges to you. It's like a phone notification when you see like Instagram and you want to open it. So it's again same thing. These are like notification you are sending it so that they remember you, and then they move you to the next round.
And there's one thing that I missed. That's the cover letter.
Hmm.
So cover letter is something. I did have a general cover letter that I've written down, and I used to, if there are openings that I really, like and want, just some very attractive openings, I would just make some changes in my cover letter. But
Hmm.
generally, I used to just submit a general cover letter to all the companies because it's not practical to change it for all the openings out there. And there's one more
Hmm.
thing, like while applying to 10 companies a day, there were always 1 to 3 companies that I was interested in, and I would try to change my resume, my cover letter, anything as per them. Otherwise, rest all would be just cold applications. Like
Hmm.
6 to 7 would be cold application, but 1 to 3, I would try to make some certain changes that they might recognize or they might find me as a valid candidate. So that's
Hmm. So obviously you were doing 10 applications per day. Some you were getting calls, some you were not getting calls. Mostly you were not getting calls.
correct.
So how did you keep yourself going? Because a lot of people lose hope at this point of time and then they give up. So how did you like keep yourself going?
So one thing that is quite true, and that is what a lot of people say as well, that if you do the right thing for a long period of time, the chances of you getting lucky increases, and that is something that you can even control. So these are
Mm,
the some of the factors that you can control. You cannot control that you get an as I told you beginning as well. If you do everything every day, in fact, if you do 20 per day, and if you make changes in 10 per day, but still there's a chances that you might not score
mm,
an internship. There's always there, but again, that is not something in your control. What is in your
mm,
control is that you can put in the efforts, you can put in the 10 applications per day, do the right thing over the long period of time. The chances of you getting lucky would increase, and one day finally they'll come when you will be lucky and you'll convert one internship.
mm.
So that
Love
is
it.
something that kept me going.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, because I think again, this is probably coming back to your mechanical background. Like you had mechanical background, you had 6 7 months of 6 to 8 months of product management interview. It's a drastic shift from mechanical engineering to
That's
tech
correct.
product manager, and you have an internship. So there is something you did different, which got you. And I think the difference I feel is the preparation and the application and your rockstar resume. I think those are your secret sauce, which actually got you the interview calls, and then preparation for your product management is what got you the internship. Is that true, or is there anything else you are hiding from us?
There's just one more thing that you can take note of. Like if you have like a very technical background, like instrumental or something, and you want to make into mechanical again, chemical, you want to make
Mm,
into product. It's okay to not mention your bachelor's into your resume. You can
mm,
always say that you had a bachelor's in STEM. It's not necessary that you write that bachelor's in mechanical engineering or bachelor's in chemical engineering. It's okay to just
okay.
write bachelor's in STEM. That's
Mm,
one thing that you can think of, that just some, because resume is something that you're showing what you are capable of that job. And if HR has in mind that mechanical engineer, that's a natural red flag for her, then it would be her or him, so that could create a problem. So let's just not
mm,
put that. You can just put bachelor's in STEM.
yeah,
That is one thing that you can do.
that. But let's talk about money. Like, do product
Yeah.
management interns make money? And if they do, what what kind of salaries do they make?
For sure. So I just would like to the people who are looking for internship know that this money that we earn in internship is something that just for survival reasons. It's not to pay back your loans, right? So expecting a lot of
Well, I would say like there are people who actually make $50 to $60 per hour for certain
but
roles.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah,
That's true.
yeah,
But it's also like in certain areas like,
yeah, yeah,
California
yeah.
or maybe
Of
New York.
course, yeah,
So it kind of comes down to, 35 to 40 if you talk
yeah.
about the taxes and everything, living costs and everything. But again, the general, I would say the notion should be that, that you should think of it as money for survival and
Mm,
not. And so if you think like that, you don't over negotiate with your HR or
mm,
your team, so that doesn't look very bad, right?
mm,
But if they're paying very low, then of course that you can negotiate by
mm,
saying a certain things.
mm. What's the salary range?
Range, I would say, for what I've seen for the startups, it's around 15 to 25 for the
Mm,
startups and the companies that have like 50 to 100, 120 employees.
mm,
For mid scale, I've seen it starts somewhere around 22, 23, and it goes up to 35
mm,
something. And like big companies, the renowned companies, they start from around 30 and they go up till 60 as well. Some companies go up till 60s. Usually the companies in the financial sectors go up till 60.
yeah.
So yeah, so that is
Goldman Sachs, for
that's
people,
correct.
Bloomberg, all those companies,
That's correct.
fintech companies. But yeah, and obviously Google, Facebook, Microsoft, they all will be in this high
Range.
range
That's
as
correct.
well. And then this also depends on where you are in the city, and if you're in Bay Area versus New York versus like small college town, etc. So it just depends on several factors. But yeah, that's a pretty good. I think I like that you break it out from the company's perspective as well. The other thing, like to add on to your point to how people should think about it, like not to
Mhm.
pay off your like semester or your loan, how they should normally should think about it is that you have gotten an opportunity to learn the field you want to be in, and someone is paying you to learn that. That's like the mindset. If you have it, I think you're gonna kill the internship, and then hopefully that'll convert into full time. Because if you're
That's even
genuinely,
better than what I told. Yeah, that's
yeah,
correct.
yeah. So I think because you want the opportunity, you got the opportunity. Now like someone is paying you to learn whatever you didn't have it. So yeah, so I would keep that mindset. Money is a gravy, it's a cream. You got it. do like pay off your semester, pay off your loan, enjoy whatever, but like always think about converting that full internship into full time by learning and giving your best. What are some of the skills people should focus on if they really want to become product manager, if they want to get product management internship?
That's correct. So that's actually quite insightful question. Uh, so I worked as a technical product manager, wherein my role is usually, I get the business requirements, and then
Mm,
you need to translate them to the developers and create the products with the help of designers, and then
mm,
developers actually create them. So that is something that my role revolves around. I can tell more about this role, like the technical product management role. So in this role, number one, you should know how to speak tech. It's okay
mm,
that you don't know how to code, but you need to understand what the conversations that they are having, so that nobody takes you on a ride when you
mm,
talk to the developers. So that is something that you should know how to speak tech. Understand tech is a good thing. For that, you can read a lot of blogs, a lot of books out there. Yeah, easy to get that skill. So one thing is that. Second is that your written communication should really be good. Like you need to
mm,
actually break things down that are in your mind for them to understand. Because as clear the more clear conversations that you write, the more clear documents that you write, the less follow-ups you will have with the developers,
mm,
and faster your products would go live, right? So it's important that you have good writing skills. Third would be that it's good to have good design skills. So I've worked
mm,
as a graphic designer before, so that really helped me. I did not expect that, but really helped me. So having good design skill, having good design sense is a good thing to have, because there'll be a lot of deliverables you'll receive from the UI UX team, and you
mm,
can always say that we need improvements because it's not matching, or not the color is a little off or something. You have that inputs as well. That is one thing, and I think these are. And there's one more thing that you need to think of all the use cases on, let's say, on a particular page. All the can potentially take any action on this page, right? He should not feel trapped in this page. It should be everything. There should be everything on this page. The purpose of this page should be fulfilled entirely for the user. So you should be able to think of a lot of use cases for every, I'm
mm.
talking about a digital page, right? Because we are technical product managers, we work on software. So any digital page out there, we should be able to think of all the use cases that could come out of this page, and we should create corresponding features for those use
Yeah.
cases. So
And
that's
for
something.
people who are thinking, that's called product mindset, product thinking, or even better, systems thinking. So those are three concepts. If you read, like you'll like learn more about it. But essentially, you're learning more about your users.
And the very last point that I would like to add would be like asking a lot of questions, because a lot of times, there's a time when you can assume a certain thing and you can create a product out of it, but at the end you realize that that assumption that I made was wrong in the first place. If I could
Mm,
have asked the question to clear off my assumption in the first place, that would have helped me create a good final product that is accepted by users and my manager is happy. So it's
yeah.
good to ask a lot of questions, be clear about your actions. So that is
Yes.
the last point I would like to add.
100%. And there is no such thing called stupid questions or dumb questions, because I think people feel so insecure that what if I'm going to ask this question and they'll think that I'm so stupid, or like, it's like you have to get out of that judgment, fear of judgment, and then ask the question, because if you don't ask the question, you definitely will make a mistake. So instead, I would ask the question. Yeah, 100%. Cool. Any one last words of wisdom tip for anybody who's coming to United States watching this video?
Okay. So one tip, like you should have a role in your mind, like before even you apply to the universities. That is the best way, and that is something that I've seen working. So you just do a lot of research in India itself or any other country that you're coming from, and just figure out a role that you're interested in and try to optimize everything from that role. Don't go for
Mm,
universities, don't go for anything. Just try to optimize everything from that particular role. Then things would be quite smooth for you. I think if your abilities is this much, but you'll be competing with people with this much abilities if you have clarity. That is the gap that we can jump if we have clarity of what we are
mm.
coming here for.
Yeah, I love this. I love it because I like to give the analogy that if you open a Google Maps and you tell Google Maps, I want to go to beach, which beach you want to go to, you wouldn't, like, Google Map will not be able to figure it out. But if you tell it, I want to go to Venice Beach in Los Angeles, it's going to tell you exactly how to get there. So
That's correct.
same fundamentals, that have clarity and vision of what role you want to target, so you can prepare your, like, backtrack it and re-engineer it and figure out your next steps.
That's correct.
One final question before we end the session.
That's
Do
correct.
you think people who are not coming from a background of product management can become a
Mhm.
product manager?
I definitely think that is possible if they their need to become a product manager is genuine in the first
Mm,
place. It's not motivated by money or the status or anything like that. Because I think,
mm,
yeah, if the need is genuine, number one, and number two is that they take the right steps. Like, for example, if they do not have product experience, they can always work as an unpaid intern, product intern in some company. Get that relevant experience on your profile. Get to a good US university, or maybe get to a good company that is recognized by employees over here.